We are in conversation with the top management of Wipro. Now, Wipro's second quarter results have come in ahead of analyst estimates, both on the revenue front, margin front. What's also surprised the street positively is the fact that they have resumed giving quarterly guidance. In fact, they've guided to 1.5 to 3.5% revenue growth for the third quarter, which again is ahead of estimates. To take us through the numbers and what we are going to expect in the coming months as far as deal flow is concerned, we're joined by the top management of Wipro, its CEO, CFO, COO, as well as its president for HR. Thank you everyone for talking to us on ET Now. Thierry, let me begin with you. Good evening. Welcome to ET Now. And, in your opening remarks, you outlined certain priorities for Wipro. I think this is the first time you're actually breaking this down in terms of the focus areas, the verticals that you're going to, in terms of, focusing on certain verticals. You've also spoken about simplifying the operating model and making Wipro a leaner organization. What are the next steps going to be as far as this is concerned? How is this going to help Wipro? You also spoke about how you've met over 100 clients, since you joined. You said there hasn't been a day when I haven't met anyone. So right now, based on your conversations, who is spending, who is not spending? When are they going to begin to spend in a big way? If you can give us color on both these aspects. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Chandra, a lot of questions. Let me try to summarize. First, I joined the company 3 months ago. If I reflect on what I've done over the last 3 months, I would say deep, intense focus on the market, meeting those clients, listening to them, hearing from them what they have to say about their priorities, as well as the quality of their relationship with Wipro, those 100 plus clients and partners as well. I've also connected a lot with our employees at every level, at the highest level, my closest colleagues, but also at the lower levels of the organization, different groups, different communities, different countries, and so on. And obviously spend a lot of time analyzing the business. Out of there, those 5 key priorities, deep focus on growth, the need to focus and scale in given market and sectors, the need to continue to work on our offerings and make them truly differentiated in the market, the need to drive an intense talent strategy to really continue to build the strongest pool of talent of the industry, and finally, as you said, work on simplifying operating model. It's not something that is specific to Wipro, by the way. Every company in our industry is constantly challenging itself on how to improve and simplify the model. Simpler processes, better systems, and obviously an organization that is, leaner. I always feel that it's better to be simple than being perfect in terms of organization. So less separations inside an organization so that people can work more together. Those 5 streams have been identified. We have built a plan around those 5 priorities. We are working on it, and we are driving in a phase of execution now. So this is, clearly what we are doing at the moment, Chandra.
Right. And in terms of, the conversations with clients, Thierry, in terms of, which client, I mean, not the names, but, which verticals are now kind of in spend mode, who are in wait and watch mode. If you can give us a broad overview based on your conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell you one thing, I haven't seen many clients not spending at all in technology. In fact, they know they need it. The challenge is the following. They don't necessarily have the budget for that. So they need to free up the budget. That's where we come and help them. On one end, look at the legacy, the cost of running their operations, address the complexity, the lack of consistency, all the multiple blockers inside an organization. So drive more agility and reinvest a part of these savings to building the future, transforming the organization, working on ways to connect more with their customers, but also having a more efficient organization. I've connected with our clients across all sectors. Banking and insurance sector are going to invest tremendously to simplify their models and constantly continue to be more adapted to the demand, and also be able to respond to the increase of the impact of startups that are leaner organization connecting with customers. If I look at sectors like healthcare, at sectors like consumer has resumed growth after, I would say, a quarter of acceleration, handling the crisis. The consumer products and retail organizations have resumed investing in technology to better understand the customers, to connect more with them. The e-commerce business has skyrocketed over the last quarters, and that shows the power of technology. If I look at manufacturing, they know they need to invest into being more agile, but also having smarter factories, smarter processes, smarter products, how to leverage the technology through sensors, 5G and so on, to get more data, to get more insight, to take more decisions. At the end of the day, I don't think there are sectors that can today feel that they should not be investing in technology. At the end of the day, I end up my visit of the first 100 clients I've seen with the conviction that there is a true need for transformation of their own organizations across industries.
Right. Jatin, if I can come to you, I have a two-part question. The market was expecting a buyback of 13,000 crore rupees. You've announced 9,500 crore. Should we expect you to kind of return wealth to shareholders in some other form, perhaps in the third or the fourth quarter? And secondly, margins are better than the previous quarter. They've come in at 19.2%, but on the aggressive side, people were expecting at least 19.6%. So do you believe there is more scope for margin improvement in Q3, considering the wage hikes will also come in December? What kind of headroom do you have?
Sure, Chandra. So, Chandra, I think there is this a little bit of confusion on including tax number and excluding tax number. We have always believed that we should tell what the shareholders are going to receive, and therefore we are saying 9,500 plus tax, and that tax amount would, if you add that up, you would see that number is very similar to the numbers that we have given out in the prior years. And overall building of the logic of the quantum that we are returning is really based on two elements. Number one is what we have on our balance sheet, and two, what we think we should keep as a strategic flexibility on our balance sheet. So these are the two factors which determine what should be the quantum of the buyback, and we feel very comfortable with the choice that we have made. And as I said, there is, if I take 1.3 billion and another $300 million plus of tax, then at 1.6 billion we are returning of the 4.6 billion on the balance sheet. So we feel very comfortable around the number that we have finalized for the buyback. If you see our promise is around 45 to 50% of net income. It has been so that we have been able to return a larger chunk over last few years, and therefore the numbers are anywhere between 85 and 90%. And with this, we will still be at the same sort of number over a block of 4 years. So I don't think, Chandra, that we are going to. This is a step one, and something else we are thinking about it in any other quarters. This is what we think is a good step forward. We have a chunk of cash on balance sheet, and we think there is an appropriate quantum of that must be returned, and that's the decision. That's the decision we have made. Yeah. So I must share with you that we had said that we'll keep 19% in a narrow range, excluding currency movement, and I can tell you that we have kept at 19.2% after absorbing 60 basis point of adverse forex movement. If you see, rupee has considerably strengthened over a period of last 3 months. So at 19.2 operationally, we have delivered a number which is significantly higher, which could be if there was no forex, that number would have been higher, and especially three parameters which we have done very well is on our utilization, which remains a multi-year high, our offshore mix, which remains a multi-year high. We have done a fabulous job on subcontractors cost. And overall, we feel a very strong operating rhythm in the business. Going forward to our focus will remain growth and the investment that we need to make for the growth. So our guidance remains that we will remain in a narrow range of 19%, excluding forex movements as we get into Q3.
Right. Banu, if I can just come to you, across verticals, we have seen a broad-based growth. Some of your biggest verticals, such as BFSI, health, your main markets, such as US, Europe, there has been a bounce back. But energy continues to see a decline, and people are also surprised about the technology vertical seeing a decline Q on Q, which they say is unexpected. Can you take us through what's happening there, and is it a one-quarter phenomenon? Will it kind of come back in the next quarter?
Thanks, Chandra. As we said, the growth in Q2 has been, pretty broad-based and across the sectors, across the geographies, and across the offerings that we have. So, as you mentioned, we do see a good pipeline. I talked to you about the good pipeline. The pipeline has become, almost pre-COVID levels. The mixture of the pipeline is pretty good in terms of both large and medium-sized deals. So we are pretty confident of being able to convert a good amount of that pipeline, a fair share of that pipeline, as we go into the, as we compete against those deals, right? Specifically on the sectors that you mentioned, right? We do believe that, like I said, BFSI, we are optimistic. We do know that this quarter there are furloughs, Q3 going to be furloughs, but we are optimistic of that. Consumer, we are pretty confident because of the large, deals that we have won, on the back of the deals that we have won. So the sector momentum will continue. The point that you mentioned specifically about technology was a specific in-quarter phenomena of some certain specific transformation programs getting over and the projects getting completed. But otherwise, we don't see that as a sectoral issue for technology.
Right, thank you. Sort of compared to the sequential decline last quarter, this quarter we've actually seen a sequential improvement in headcount. I think you've added about 4,000 people. Will you continue hiring at the same pace, perhaps even higher than this? And the hiring that you're doing, is it freshers? Is it lateral? And at what levels are we seeing this hiring happen?
So Chandra, as you've seen the commentary you hear from Thierry, Jatin and Banu, and there is a momentum in the market. There is a growth orientation, and we are very clear that we have to gear ourselves to make sure we gear up for this growth. So we will see a robust hiring plan in the second half of the year, as we have seen in the first half. We are hiring both at the entry level as well as laterals, both in India and all our key critical geographies, both also in all our new technology areas, as well as areas other where we require growth. So it's a broad-based hiring across bands, across geographies, both lateral as well as freshers. And this will help us to be geared up for growth in the coming. And as I said, the entire supply chain, if you look at it, low attrition, high utilization, robust hiring. I think overall, if you see, it's been managed well. And if we can do this, continue to do work on this, we will make sure that we are geared up for good growth in the coming quarters.
Right. Thierry, if I can come back to you, the first quarterly results that you addressed, it was, I think, 7 days after you took charge as CEO. Those results worked out well. The second quarter looks good as well, and the third quarter too. So I guess you're very lucky for Wipro. But is this going to be the financial year when we see Wipro perhaps returning to industry level growth rates, perhaps even coming to the double-digit territory? how do you see the second half of the year shaping up compared to the first half, based on the pipeline, the deal pipeline, the momentum that you're seeing at this point?
Chandra, we are communicating on what we expect for Q3. We will see for after. For now, I would say we are in a good trend. We are in a positive trend. And, I'm positive that through the different actions that we will focus on, we will continue to show a positive trend. So, when is it going to happen? I don't know, but I tell you, we will be back to, the growth, and we will be shooting for leadership position in growth going forward. We are working on it. Bear with us.
Okay, on that note then, thank you very much, all four of you, for talking to us right here on ET Now, and congratulations again for a very good set of numbers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chandra.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you.